All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome. My name is Alton. We've had one or two challenges, technical challenges. We do apologize for being late, but we are here. We are present. We've got Liz, we've got Roxanne, we've got Lauren, and we'll have Jade in a minute. We've got an interesting lineup, and these ladies, let me tell you, can pack a punch verbally and in their actions for what they can do. And they'll all tell you about it in a minute. Um, I'm starstruck, not the other way around, Liz, because this is a great panel. So yeah, you can feel it is, Liz. I'm also nervous, you know. So let's start with Roxanne. Yeah, Roxy lost
Wow,
in
thanks,
first.
Alton.
You know how it goes. You were the last one to log in, so
Throwing
you're
me in
the
the
first
deep
one.
end. You said,
So
okay,
so
well,
so so Rox, so Roxy, Roxy is the coach of
yeah.
the Jelly Bean. See, Jelly
Jelly bean,
Bean.
yeah.
You see, I
Jelly
even I'm
bean.
nervous. You see what I mean, Liz?
Oh my gosh.
So,
It
okay,
is
now,
a
now that you
mouthful, I'll
all
give
at
you
ease,
that.
now we can have fun. Billie Jean, national coach for tennis, an ex-pro, who's also, you can tell us a little bit about your history as well, Roxy, because you've got a rich history. Tell us a little bit about you, Roxy.
Okay, well, my name is Roxanne Clark, and I'm from Elsie's River, and I'm a tennis coach currently. As Alton said, I'm the Billie Jean King Cup captain, which is basically the women's national coach for South Africa. And it is a mouthful. I'll give you that, Alton. I'm from Elsie's River. I grew up in Elsie's River. Alton wants me to mention my parents. I'm sure that's what he wants me to mention. My parents are Lynn and Colin Clark. Um, they were both activists. My mom played tennis, and my dad was the secretary of SACOS, for those of you who know what SACOS is. They were very involved politically in the non-racial fights in sport. Um, so I have a lot of strong influence from them in my life. I grew up playing on a tennis court on Holt Road, which is right next to my house. And really, tennis just took off from there for me. I went to university. I graduated from Arizona State University in 2008 and have been a tennis coach since then. Um, I was the first woman in South Africa to get an ITF Coach of High Performance qualification. Also, the first woman to run an international tennis federation training center that was based in Fiji for about 4 years. So that's me in a nutshell. Now I do coach education here for Tennis South Africa, and I work in Stellenbosch at a really up and coming one of the best academies in South Africa. So that's me.
Rox, I think most people have some inclination about your father. I mean, your father, many may not know this, but he's set the tone for sports administration of what a secretary should be like. That man had a full time job and ran
He was a
sport in the
pharmacist.
back
Yeah.
of what was his profession? Of a
What's that? He
pharmacy.
was a pharmacist.
Listen,
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
we used to have meetings in the back of the pharmacy at 11 o'clock at night in the
Wow.
apartheid years when sport was still separated. And 11
Yeah.
o'clock at night, it'd say, guys, it's now meeting time because that's when people could actually gather. So he set the tone of work ethic for many of us that some of us still live by. So you come from good stock, as they say, Rox.
Thank you. Thanks for that, Elton.
Jade, you've just come back from a world tour. Tell us a little bit what you went to go do overseas.
Yeah, so evening everyone. My name's Jade Lawson. I'm a touch rugby referee and a rugby union referee, but I've actually just come back from the touch rugby World Cup. Definitely something that's been a goal of mine. Ideally, first as a player.
Uh-oh.
Is it me or is it Roxy or is it Jade?
I think it's Jade.
Okay, we'll come back to Jade. Lauren, tell us a little bit about you, Lauren. You've you were an all-rounder off the field, for want of a better understanding. You know, as you put it, I'm an off the field all-rounder.
Totally.
Tell us a little bit about you.
This is awkward. Isn't it awkward speaking about yourself? I mean, it's weird,
So
right?
awkward.
Yeah,
Is.
exactly. It's weird.
And
Okay.
particularly when you're on the other side. No, normally you doing the reporting. Now
Exactly.
the flip is flipped.
I know, I hate it. Anyway, I'll do my best. Well, my name is Lauren, obviously, and I have been a journalist since 2011. I actually started my career off as being a woman abuse therapist. And then, so that was pretty interesting for many years, but always wanted to be a journalist and studied journalism and worked around the world covering issues relating to women. Very different issues from, conflict zone areas to anti-gendercide in China for 4 years, issues in West Africa, child brides, the list goes on and on. So I wrote a lot about not only things that I was seeing, but also being a conduit for sharing women's stories that they were sharing with me. And in order to be a bridge between what people knew and what people don't know about what women go through and in various aspects of life. And so I also decided, last year that I knew a lot of athletes, a lot of female athletes, and I knew that I wanted to share their stories. We have a huge need for media coverage when it comes to female athletes, when it comes to sport for women. And when we talk about investment, we still need coverage, because more media coverage we get, the more investment we can get, the more interest we can get, the more athletes can go to sponsors and say, hey, look at what's happening here. I am getting this coverage. I can do this. I can do that. So it was always for me about athletes first. It's always about the athlete first. So I started She Speaks Sport with the idea of going, the podcast exists to tell the athlete stories. And then also I go to loads of events all the time and just create content around what women are doing in sport, all out of my own, all out of my heart to see that impact, and creating a space to have that media coverage. And again, I'm going to say it because I wanted to do that. I have the experience and I'm professional in that area. I'm also a radio presenter, and my husband and I have our own international teaching school. We do loads of things, a bit of an all-rounder, like you said. But when it comes to sport, it is such a passion of mine. I have a lot of friends that are athletes, high-performance athletes, and I knew what I was seeing was that we're not getting enough coverage and the media isn't paying attention, and we're not telling those stories enough. And the more stories we tell, the more we can advocate. And so that is a little bit about me.
Thanks, all-rounder. Like Nathima, you're welcome to jump onto Facebook, YouTube, or Insta. Drop your comments to these fine ladies. Nathima says, "Congratulations, Roxanne, on your achievements." And we'll unpack some of that stuff you've. As you can see, Lauren, I make notes as we talk, so we go with Elizabeth. Elizabeth and I, or Liz and I, go back probably too long, Liz, 10, 12 years.
Too long, definitely.
And Elizabeth has moved into, how long? How long, Liz? Too long.
Too long, way too long.
So Elizabeth works in the sports industry, but behind the scenes, we make events happen on the back end. So Elizabeth, Lizzie, tell us a little bit about you. Who are you?
Okay, so I'm Elizabeth. I'm a mom of two, born and bred in Cape Town. I'm an absolute Cape Town fanatic. I think it's the most beautiful city in the world. And I came from a very sporty family, particularly water sports. I was drawn to from a very early age. My mom always said I could swim before I could walk. But I guess I studied sports science out of school. I've studied a few other things, and I finally found myself in the events industry. That's where I met Elton many, many years ago at the Pedal Power Association. And now I'm a route consultant for the Cape Town Cycle Tour and the Cape Town Marathon. And yeah, basically kind of help with all the operations behind the scenes. So that's kind of how we know each other. And yeah, as he says, the back end of the chaos that everyone else seems to enjoy. And yeah.
Let's tell us a little bit about your swimming, because you didn't say anything about that.
Yeah, I guess as I say, I've been swimming my entire life. It obviously comes in ebbs and flows as life kind of happens, and babies were born. But yeah, I'm a very, very avid swimmer. Currently, more on the open water side, although I do a lot of pool swimming to keep my fitness up. I've got a couple of big swim goals. I've done Robben Island, but now I've got my sights kind of set on a few of the longer Western Cape swims. So yeah, waiting for the swell to die down currently, so I can get a bit more ocean time behind me. But yeah.
Okay, we'll park it there. Jade, we lost you there. So you just come back from overseas. Tell us, what did you go do there?
Yes. Yeah, sorry. So internet issues happen at the best of times for everyone. So just a little bit about me. I come from a family of 4. I've got a brother and my parents. We're all very sporty. I've also got a fur brother who I train with. My brother also trains with. He's very much part of us. And my dad's actually an Ironman, and my mom was very much involved in sport in school as well. And my brother as well. Same thing with me. Just a very sporty family all around when we were at school. And in school, I played touch rugby in that. And, a dream for most athletes, if not all athletes, is to represent your country at the highest level, whether it be the Olympics or World Cup. And for me, that was a goal. A goal as a player. Little did I know that I was going to pick up the whistle sometime in my life and actually go to a World Cup as a referee, which I managed to do this year. It's a goal I've set out for years in a very different sport code to what I ended up now. And it's just the passion I picked up, and it's just a game. Sport's given me so much in life, and I just thought, you know what, how can I give back in sport besides coaching? Because coaching, it's very hard to get into because everybody wants it. And then an opportunity came up for me to referee, and I was like, I'll try, I'll give it a go. I don't know if I'll be any good. And here I am now.
Well done. But over and above that, you're involved in sport and in academic space as well. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so coming out of school, I actually wanted to do physiotherapy very much, very interested in that. And then certain subjects I took were on the program for physiotherapy, and then were removed from the program, and I required to do physical science or physics. And I didn't like that, and I dropped that back in start of grade 10. So my path was kind of not forced upon me. I could have done something for that, but sports science was my calling. So I moved on to that. And unfortunately, a lot of my degree was during COVID. So it was online. And, I thought, I haven't had enough practical experience out of my degree being online. I wanted to do honors. I wanted that practical. I wanted to know what more is there to my degree. And from sports science, I'm now doing my honors in strength and conditioning, something I am loving every day of. It's crazy some weeks. Some weeks it's just lots of practical work, lots of tests. This week I'm in basically an assessment week, very busy. But yeah, so my life basically revolves around sport, whether it be on the weekend, doing my passion and playing or reffing, or during the week where I'm studying it. But there's not one day where I look back and I think I'm too involved in sports. I'm too involved in it. I need to step back. I actually just love every moment of it.
And that's interesting, Jade, because I had a conversation with someone earlier and said it's not often that people get to live their dreams and happy in their work environment. And yet it seems like the 4 of you are kind of happy. Kind of, I don't know, maybe you can tell me differently, that you're happy with what you are doing currently. Or am I am I reading wrongly here? Let's go with Liz. Liz, is this where you want to be in your life? Is this what you thought your life would be? Working in the sporting environment in events.
Yeah, no, I do love what I do, thank goodness, because I can't imagine not loving what I do. And yeah, I guess I also kind of just fell into this path. I mean, I studied a couple of other courses as well, and this seems to be what I keep being drawn back to, you know, and it's awesome to be able to mix the passion of sport and my logistical operational experience and seeing huge projects coming together. This year, the Cape Town Marathon is chasing an Abbott World Marathon status. So yeah, there's loads of check boxes to be ticked, and we are really grafting hard. But I do love it. Yeah.
Alton, are you okay there?
Having a nap.
Maybe we just should carry on the conversation while he gets
Yeah, I was
Yes.
gonna say.
Lauren, why don't you tell us about?
Oh no. well, yes, I do love what I do. Hey, and I think it's like all of us, we find our path into what we're doing, right? But it's definitely a calling, and it's definitely a passion and a purpose that you have. And I think we all share that. And I definitely have big goals that I want to reach as well, as I think all of us here probably do. You know, you got to set that bar higher and higher. And I think that I love what I'm doing. And for me, I love interacting with athletes. I get very inspired by athletes and their journeys, right? And their stories. And it's an incredible world. And I also fell in love with cycling through my husband, because when I met him, he was cycling. And I was like, oh my goodness, cycling is just amazing. And some people are like, oh, it's so boring, you know, but I'm like, no, it's just so riveting. Watching the Tour de France, it's the next level. But, you know, it's like, it's amazing. So I want to throw this out to Roxanne to tell us, do you love what you are doing?
I mean, you know, if you had asked me, I mean, I'm a lot older. People think I look younger than I am. So if you'd asked me 20 years ago if I was going to be a tennis coach, I would have said, no way. Like, I just never would have seen that for myself. But like you say, our passions choose us. And I mean, maybe my strength was just working with people and making them see the best in themselves. You know, that's what I love about what I do, is working with people and literally having them achieve something they never thought they could, you know, and that for me is very fulfilling. So I do love what I do. I absolutely do. It's difficult sometimes, and sometimes I have to remind myself that I love it, but it's very fulfilling. Absolutely.
Yeah, I suppose it's me.
Jade?
Yeah.
This is
So
you.
I definitely love what I do. I mean, in terms of my sport, refereeing is it comes with its challenges. I mean, we've all possibly been on that side of the field where we just want to blame the ref for everything. So we do have either our own bad games or bad games from the players. I mean, I was at fault for that. I'll say it out there. I was at fault for that when I used to play at school. I used to always like shout at the refs and that. And now that I'm in the ref shoes, I understand the difficult pressures at split-second decisions. And that's what keeps me on my feet. And that's why it keeps me like loving the game, is that constant challenge of you have a split second to decide on what you've seen, whether you need to blow the whistle, leave it in your pocket, make the decision, what it is, everything. And I think that's very important for people to actually just step in a ref's shoes every now and then to actually realize what it's about. But I still love it, the challenge and everything. And also with my degree and the path I'm taking, the fact that I'm loving the learning process makes me think like this is where I'm supposed to be. I haven't experienced the workspace yet in terms of day-to-day experience because I'm in class, but I'm pretty sure this is my calling. This is my passion. I don't see a day where I'm learning and I actually hate what I'm doing. I'm actually learning. I'm like, this is cool. I can apply this way in my future. This. It all's piecing together for what I see myself in the future doing as a profession and as a sport. So yeah, definitely.
That's amazing. Well, I want to ask Roxanne a question because I think Alton's still napping. Roxanne,
I was about-
Roxy, you have the
Ladies, can you hear me, or is it
Oh,
I
Jelly bean.
fading away here?
Welcome back, Alton.
Very catchy.
Hi, Alton.
Oh, he's still
I think-
struggling. Go ahead, Lauren.
Okay, I wanted to ask you, Billie Jean King is such an icon. I mean, she is just what she has achieved for women, of course, in tennis, but also in sport, you know, and the things that she has said and the things that she has done is phenomenal. It's inspirational. It's inspiring. We look at that. And is there something specific about her? I mean, obviously, you have her name as part of your introduction, so it's amazing. Walks in the door first. Is there part of something about her life or her story or something that she said that has inspired you and that has brought you to a place where you've been like, I feel inspired by what she did, because we always build on what has gone before us, right? Is there something that she means to you or has said or done that has inspired you?
Well, you know, it's Billie Jean is an icon. She's an icon in tennis, really. I mean, even more iconic than Martina Navratilova, if you will. I'm talking about the oldies now, you know. She really is she's a pioneer. There's no doubt about that. I've been fortunate enough to have met her partner, Ilana Kloss. She was also a tennis player, and we worked together a little bit to try and see how we can progress women's tennis here in South Africa. There was a couple of tournaments named after her. I think she's just an inspiration because she doesn't stop. You know, I mean, she's quite old. I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, she just doesn't stop. She goes to all the events. She puts her name out there. She really, really keeps working for women athletes all over the world, not just tennis players. So personally, I think that's what I take from Billie Jean, is that she just doesn't stop. She just keeps going, and whatever her purpose is, it's almost like she's going to see that till her last day, you know. That's the legacy of Billie Jean.
Absolutely. Hi, Alton.
Am I back? I seem to be coming and going. My internet seems to be a problem here. But thanks, Lauren. You know, the perks of having a reporter on call on the deck, right there, all rounder. I chose them wisely for the technical challenges today. You know, first we couldn't log in. Now the internet's giving us problem. Anyway, we move along. So I caught a glimpse of it. So my question now to all of you is, how has sport shaped you in what is often called a man's world? If I look at what Jade does from a referee's perspective, Rox, from your perspective, often as a coach, people don't want to listen to you because males think they know better, you know? Lauren, I mean, you've had you can tell us tons of stories of how, from that perspective. Liz, in your space, you and I know that it's predominantly a male environment to be an event coordinator. What is that like, and how have you broken the barriers? Let's start with Lauren. We'll go Roxy, Jade, and then Liz.
Oh, I was hoping you weren't going to start for me. Okay. I need to think wisely about how I answer here. You know what? I think that sport, in my experience, is still a very male-dominated society. This is just from my experience. And even sport media, you know, sometimes you'll be the only woman at an event for media. And that's actually great because you've been recognized as owning that space and being part of that space. But I think that for me, it's just about being authentic, being true to my mission, mandate, purpose, calling, and who I am and what I'm called to do, how I'm supposed to do it, and where I want to be doing it and how I want to be doing it. And then choosing my allies well. You will get allies and I find that I have a lot of male allies more than female allies. I'm not afraid to say that either. And by having those allies, it does empower and help me move forward. But I think it's always about having been unapologetically myself and really not taking much nonsense, to be honest. But I've been like that since I was a child. My parents were very challenged with me. But it's just about owning that space, living in that space, but being true to myself. And I love interacting with people, and I really do care about human beings. And so that is how it is for me. And I found that when you do something with the right heart, the right passion, the right purpose, things fall into place for you. I'm a very big believer in that. It works out as it should. And sometimes there's challenges, but you can overcome those challenges. So that has just been it for me. It just always coming into alignment with myself and what I'm called to do. And as long as I'm true to that, I can overcome and break through those patriarchal things. And sometimes you got to put people in their place and you got to move on. And that's what I do.
Lovely. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And I'll pick up on that in a minute. Roxanne, from your perspective, I mean, you played tennis in South Africa, you played in America, you've come back to ply your trade. What is the challenges you've had?
Well, I'm sure every female coach can say the same thing. You know, tennis is literally a male-dominated sport. If you are a male coach, you are just seen to be smarter, more able. You know, it's just one of those things. So male coaches will coach men and females. They don't really see. I mean, you've seen a couple of women out there who've coached top male players. So in South Africa, it's quite, for me, sometimes it can be disheartening, even when I work with juniors. But I know what I know. You know, I know what I'm good at. I believe in myself. And again, it takes a reminder to, you know, get through those kind of things. But I do also, like Lauren said, have allies. And those allies are 90% of the time they're men, you know. I was also lucky recently to be invited to be a part of this program called WISH, which is a Women in Sport High Performance Pathway. And it was quite good because these coaches from different codes that come together and you do this 1.5-year program. And it was really, really fulfilling because you have all these women from different sporting codes from all over the world. And we just deal with the same issues. So we could help each other and have network with each other and it was just, and work through goals and, you know, set goals. It's just an amazing program to be a part of. So those kind of things, the mentorship, the networks with women, those help. But I think it's like that defiance, that attitude that you have to have, that even Lauren touched on. It's like, you know what? I don't care what you say about me. I know what I'm good at. I know what I can do. And you just put one foot in front of the other, you know, and that's really helped me. And again, I go to what my core strengths are. I'm good at working with players and getting the best out of them and working on that emotional aspect with them quite a lot. So I stick to that, you know, and I'm good at this and this is what I'm going with. So that's basically what's worked for me.
And it's worked for you. It's worked for you. You're successful, you know. And if you stay in your lane and focus on what you're good at, you build the people around you. Like Peter de Villiers once said in a conversation, I said, how did you manage to be the best rugby coach? He said, I built a team around me who knew how to help me to be the best. And the players pushed me to the next level for me to improve. And that's what we have to do as coaches. We can't rely on everything ourselves. We build the network around us. Like both of you said, we build the allies to help us grow. Jade, from your perspective in a rugby space, I mean, that's very different. That's a male-dominated space.
Yeah, it very much is. And I'm luckily not the first female to be in this male-dominated space. I do have referees, especially in touch rugby, who have started refereeing at a similar time to me, and we're going on this journey together. You know, one person to this day that I still chat to on the touch field is Nakedi Malesa. She's from Gauteng. And as much as there's a distance, Western Province to Gauteng, she was here for a short while studying with UCT. So we did referee together, but we still chat every now and then, catch up, reflect on our refereeing. at interprovincial nationals, we've got a nationals coming up in September here in Cape Town. We talk to each other post game, check up on each other, see where we can help each other out and stuff like that. And in rugby union, a big name that many people know, Amy Barrett-Taron, she's my coach, she's my mentor, she's someone I look up to, and she's breaking those barriers. And I actually, I was watching one of her interviews recently with Alex White. I think it's from Super Sports Schools or something, how she's stubborn, likes to break barriers. And if somebody says no, she's going to find a way how. And I think that's very important for women, because a lot of people are stuck with this male dominated thing and say no to women because it hasn't been done before. But why don't we go and find out how we can change that narrative? How we can change that to be like, actually, you can. So that's why I'm very privileged to have her up above, all the other international referees who are also up there. Holly Davidson, they reffing Springboks versus Portugal in that test match that was here in South Africa. I mean, that's breaking a barrier. First female to take charge of an official test match, not a friendly, an official test match. I mean, that was crazy. And then, taking this touch rugby dream of mine, along with other referees. There's another referee, I don't know if she's retired or on a sabbatical, Talise Tonkin. She's from KZN. She's been on a World Cup before in touch rugby. So I also look at my journey on how she developed, how we can develop and also grow. And I must say one thing that's very, very moving, that I spoke to a Spanish referee when I was at the World Cup, is that she heard a lot of people talking at the World Cup. We actually took 3 female referees up and 2 males in the end. It was originally a squad of 10, 5 and 5. And everybody was saying how the development of females is growing in touch. And it is very much true. It's a mixed sport and everything, but the referees seem to be a lot of females. Now, there's males too, but a lot of females seem to give back to the game in refereeing. I'm not saying anything's wrong with that, or the males need to step up at all. But I'm just saying that narrative is that the ladies are breaking the barriers. We are pushing, and now we need to push into rugby union and do that as well. I think it's very important, and it's also very exciting. I mean, working with the males, breaking barriers to work with them. And with rugby union, I started as one of the first females in the southern suburbs, and I had the support of so many males around me. There's so many names I could drop. And these guys are up, and they still message me, ask me, how am I doing? How's this doing? Where can they help me? What am I stuck on? Do I need to go over stuff? I mean, I'll say honestly, my weak point is scrums. I go to the guys and I say, guys, tell me, what's your trick in scrums? Because I can't get scrums sometimes. And they're willing to help me. I'm humble enough to ask. And I think that's one thing that we need to remember. As much as we're going in as females and try to break the barrier, still keep humble, know where we can learn, because we don't want to go in too arrogant. But I think it's very important to break barriers and also follow pathways or break our own pathways.
Absolutely. Lizzie, are you there? You in, but we don't see you. Liz? Okay. When Liz comes, she can answer that question. My next question to you ladies is, how do we get more girls and young women interested in sport? Sport, as you know, in schools has been taken out due to Dr. Kader Asmal's intelligence, changing it to the new education system. How do we now change the system, or how do we how do we promote to get ladies into sport, young girls into sport? We seem to be dropping people in and out. But let's go. Roxanne, from your perspective, I mean,
it's so hard.
How do we get young girls into sport?
It's so hard to do it without schools. I feel like it's such a great platform to do it there. If I think about about tennis specifically, but the logistical, it's such an effort to get a coach at every school, because obviously you want to have someone good to develop players or athletes. And that responsibility sometimes falls on the teacher, but I just think schools is a good place to do it. I don't know how else we could do it in our communities. Awareness, media, it's got to be something that is out there for people to see. They need role models, but I don't see a long-term plan happening that doesn't involve schools. It just won't work. We don't. I mean, look at what rugby's doing now. It's just in so much schools, the game just thrives. Can't happen elsewhere. That's what I think. because right now it's up to clubs and private academies. But then the only people who can have access to that is who have money or funding. So yeah, it's very difficult.
So from a tennis perspective, you're almost saying we need to flood the market in inverted commas and get more people playing tennis to be able to get to the pipeline. Because as we know, we have the mass participation, which leads to talent identification, which leads to elite performance in that triangle. And my challenge is that we battle to get people in the mass participation to give us a bigger pool to pull for the talent ID.
You know,
What's your
Alton,
view as a coach?
when apartheid ended in 1994, in tennis, MTN came on as a huge sponsor for development in South Africa. And I mean, I benefited from that system because they literally paid for all the tournaments we went to in South Africa. We had training available to us. It was something unbelievable, specifically for Black and colored players, Indian, non-white, I should say. And we had our own nationals even, and so much talent came from that. Even a player like Raven Klaasen, who was top 10 in the world in doubles, came from that. And those are people, who were in the Sackhouse days just doing it for passion. They were just so passionate about growing the game, and they just loved playing. And I remember even as a kid, I would walk around the tennis courts. I just have flashes still in my memory about being around tennis courts because my parents were involved. So it has to be mass participation. There has to be some sort of program like that. It yields results. It absolutely does. But I don't know how, because I don't think our sports federations can shoulder that burden at this point.
Definitely agree with you. Jade, from your perspective, how do we get more young ladies into sport, like touch as an example?
Yeah, so
Or
for touch
any
rugby,
sport for that matter.
Yeah, I'll speak more on the rugby and touch rugby side. So for touch rugby, it was a sport that I didn't know was a formal sporting code until I went to high school. And luckily the high school I went to had a Western Province rep in charge of the sport. So that's how I found it. They scouted me because we were having a fun grade 8 day, and I could pass spin a rugby ball because my dad, my brother, and also just rooting back primary school breaks I would spend with the boys playing touch on tar. I mean, that's where my route started for this. And the thing is, the boys could play rugby, but girls couldn't back then. So it was very much there's a barrier. Then in high school, there was the opportunity I had, and I was very privileged to have that opportunity. But for people who don't have that, don't know that the sport is a thing. It has slowly developed more and more. There's a social league on Wednesday night at Villages. Western Cape Touch Association also has their own league. I'm part of Western Province Touch Association, so I only really know of our leagues well enough. And then Western Province. Beyond that, there used to be a ladies' club which has since dissolved. I don't know when exactly, but there was one. And it is a struggle, but girls are interested. Don't get me wrong, girls are interested, but it's only at the schools who maybe have a rep that send the message out or know a friend of a friend who plays and it's like, oh, I want to try. So it's very difficult to try. And also Western Cape does do their bits. They work in the Boerkaap areas. They work down in Strand. They get kids through on a bus or organized transport, get central locations. They get people to play in the less privileged areas and also work out ways for them to get funds to go to nationals, because it's not necessarily cheap, because you have to get a bus or a flight, go to KZN, go to Joburg, get a hotel. It doesn't have to be 5-star. I don't think I ever stayed in a 5-star when I went, but it all comes to a cost. So I think the biggest thing we always strive for is a sponsor, so that more people can come without the fear of the financial cost of being on a tour, because there is, beyond league, there's nothing really going at the moment. We're building for that. And with rugby union, it's also a similar situation where it's just clubs. There aren't many schools. They're also developing with that. I'll tell you something that people may know about is what Zoe Nordier is doing at False Bay Rugby Club with their little junior program. And they're getting girls from all around to come play. There's another coach, Vian, who's doing something in the northern suburbs. They're trying to build the rugby union side, and we just need someone in touch rugby to have that similar idea where we can try and build. But so many of us are so spread with our work that we don't have someone who can do that with their extra time. I'm trying to develop the referees myself on the side, do courses and that. I mean, I've been up early working with people from Australia to get my accreditation to give these courses, and I give it for as a low fee as I can, just to cover my electricity and maybe transport to assess these people. But it is a financial thing that does stir them away, and the girls are interested. It's just the biggest issue has been a financial thing. And another thing with going back to World Cup, a lot of the referees who couldn't go along with me from South Africa, of the 10, it was a financial thing that stopped the majority of them from getting through. So that's why only 5 went up in the end. So there's definitely room for financial help for us. And then just scouting to those areas where people don't know about the sport. They may know about rugby union, but maybe not touch. And then in terms of refereeing, that's a little side project I'm working on with the touch rugby. But rugby union, there's plenty of courses if they just try and find them on Facebook. We try and build, and we got ladies only courses as well, which promotes more women and being comfortable in a female environment to learn the sport with women.
Thanks, Jade. Lauren, from your perspective,
Well,
how do we
I'll
get
just do a quick one.
more young ladies into sport?
I'll just do a quick one because I think that Jade and Roxy just summed it up really well. Again, it always comes down, it's something that I always talk about is finances, and we don't want sport to be elitist. And I think that that's the problem. We don't want that. And you see private schools have great sporting coaches and academies and things. And then you go to a non-private school and it's a very different situation. I personally work a lot around cricket. I love cricket. So I can speak on that level, and I can see that from a higher level, there's a lot that's been done. Obviously, Cricket South Africa has been doing things for many years with, KFC mini cricket. And now just today, saying, okay, Hollywood Bets has come on board for the T20s and the 50 overs, and now there's going to be more sponsorship, there's going to be more, and it's encouraging more young women to come through. And in cricket there's a lot of young women coming through and a lot that's interested. And I want to say from another perspective is what the T20 Women's Cricket World Cup did last year, as well as the Netball World Cup did last year, that we both had in Cape Town, is expose young girls to these sports. And honestly, that's where I stood back at both of those events and looked at the girls that were having their stuff signed by the players that they look up to, and young girls at the Netball World Cup looking at Bongi Msoni and looking at her and going, gosh, like, she looks like me, she's representing me, this is what I want to be. And when we expose young girls to these role models, when we expose them to the sport, and their parents actually take them to the sport, and they're watching the cricket, or they're watching whatever, they're watching rugby even, which hopefully they will take the girls to as well, then we can go, hey, these are the role models that we have, and we can also aspire to be that. And the last thing I'm going to say is a lot of the athletes I speak to today that are in their late 20s, early 30s, say that they didn't have anybody to look up to when they were younger, when they were 10, 11, 12. And this was 20 years ago or 25 years ago, whatever it may be. And they had to form their own path. But by having people that we can look up to, it changes drastically. When I took my goddaughter to the Cricket World Cup, she cried when Chloe Tryon came over and gave her a hug. It drastically changes how you connect to a sport, because you realize this is not just my hero, but it's someone doing something that I can do as well. And I think that that's why we need more media exposure. That's why we need more girls at the games and at the sport, and having representatives exposing them to that. And I think that that's part of it that we need to do.
Agree. Role models play a significant role that we don't often talk about. And we'll park that there for a minute. Liz, from your perspective, you missed 2 questions. So the first one was, how do you survive in a male-dominated world? And then how do we get more ladies to be involved in your space from an event management perspective?
Gosh, it's a tough one. And I think these ladies have just summed up things so beautifully. But I was actually watching a little YouTube documentary with my two girls. I've got two young daughters on skateboarding, and it was these skater girls skating in princess outfits, and they've just got skateboards. So my girls were completely in awe. And a stat actually came up that 75% of girls by the age of 14 will drop out of sport. And I think that really just struck a chord for me, because sport has really shaped and meant so much to my life. But it's a difficult one. And I think, exposure, finances, there's just so much complexity to that I think we are making steps in the right direction now. I mean, I think back to the 20 years ago, I remember my mom taking me to Longstreet to a short course South African championships, and Penny Haynes came up and sat next to me, and I was just completely in awe, I just wanted to be a swimmer. My bedroom was filled with her posters. It really, really had an impact on me. So things and also just the change in narrative of the sports that girls can take part in. Back in my day, it was very much this is what girls should be doing, boys, soccer, rugby, my gosh. And I just love the way how we slowly chipping away and breaking at it. And in my industry, in the back end, the events industry is very male dominated. But I just think, we mustn't be scared to push boundaries, to keep on it, to, we know our stuff, we're just as good, and we just need to be, I guess, showing our girls, the future generations, that we can do it on all levels. I mean, just watching Tatiana now at the Olympics again, it's just, it's complete and utter, time for the ladies to shine. So it's been amazing.
Thanks, Liz. Shani on Facebook says our government really needs to step up and fund our country's sports. It's sad to hear that lack of finances is the biggest deterrent, or almost the only deterrent for many progressing and excelling in various sporting codes. And what is your views on that?
We lost Elton.
Okay, I will start the answer to this question, and then we'll go around. Our government really does need to step up and fund our country's sport. And I think that I want to say...
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Hi, Elton.
Elton, we got this.
We got this. We got it.
I don't know what's happening today. It's the first time, but it's okay. Carry on, Lauren.
We're going to talk about this tomorrow at the Sports Summit, right? This is how we're going to end off our thing, addressing the sport minister. But I have quite some positive feelings about him. Obviously, him having visited, SA Rugby as the only sport minister to have done that in, forever. And him saying he's committed to women's rugby, for example, and sports rugby, and how he's going to bring about these changes. And he is saying these things, and he is putting pedal to the metal, as they say, and I'm hopeful that we will see changes coming with our current sport minister, because that's where it needs to be. He's the one that holds the purse strings in terms of where the money is going to go to sport-wise. So I'm really hoping that he's going to get behind a lot of sport, and I do agree that we need the government to come on board with this. I mean, like Jade said earlier on, I mean, lack of funding shouldn't be a problem. And we also have a lot of teams and even athletes that crowdfunded to get themselves to the Olympics, our para athletes even our other athletes, they raise their own money to get there. So we do need this to happen. And I'm hopeful. I mean, I'm trying to be positive about the government situation at the moment. That's just me, though.
Lauren, Donnie Jurgen says it's not feasible or sustainable to expect government to solve all the challenges of sport. It's about partnerships and collaborations that we need to work on, and that's Jade, from your perspective, what is your view?
Are you talking about the view on the stuff that Lauren touched on? Because we did lose you briefly there.
Jade? Jade, what is your
Yes.
view?
I sorry, I asked the question again. We seem to be losing you with the internet connection. Am I commenting further on what Lauren and you were discussing, or am I commenting on what Donnie's
What is your view
pointed out?
on all of this?
On the financial situation. In terms of the government, I think they just need to recognize all the sports. A lot more sports are coming up. In terms of rugby, there's the tag rugby, touch rugby, 7s, 15s, 10s, your various formats of the game. And now, if I'm not mistaken, it's World Rugby's coming up with its new version of T1 rugby. I don't know if people saw the promotion of it. I did referee some of that for the study. It's more targeted towards people who have musculoskeletal injuries and things like that, but the study will come out explaining that further. I think just recognizing each sport, because tag rugby is recognized, people crowdfund. I crowdfunded to get myself first to the Atlantic Cup last year, which was in England, and to the World Cup this year. And luckily my parents were able to fund my flights, but a lot of what my crowdfunding was for my visa, for my accommodation once I was in England, for my essay kit, for my blazer, and all of those things that I had to pay for, my international kit. So the crowdfunding is a big thing, and also not a lot of necessarily brands. I understand refereeing is not like a win thing for a brand, but we will always look for brands to collaborate with us. And in touch rugby currently, to my knowledge, I could be mistaken, but we don't have any. So, I do encourage brands to approach us. I mean, we've got 5 World Cup referees who came now. We had, I think, 5 or so who went to the previous World Cup in 2019. We're getting referees to go overseas. So your name will go out there. There's internationals going over, and the referees are performing overseas. We came back with lots of positive comments when we came back. So I don't think it's something scary for brands, but also I know, talking to brand finances and all that, people want to back people who are going to bring results, bring back gold. And a referee is just like a manager. We don't win, we don't lose. We help people to get a better experience in the game. We don't. If I ref a game between Province and KZN, I'm not going to go and pay wages and go and try and get Province to win. I see we lost Elton. But I'm going to ref so that players can play. I'm going to ref so that people can enjoy the game. I'm not someone to have a bias at all. And so crowdfunding is a big thing. And especially it was a struggle for me to realize that I had to crowdfund to get myself to a sport. No sponsors were kicking in. SA Rugby and all of that. There isn't a full connection in touch rugby yet with them. It's still busy being formed and built properly so we can get financial assistance. But going to this World Cup was completely crowdfunding myself. And I must recognize, if my sponsors are watching, that they got me there. I mean, this is for them. This cap is for them because they got me there. Without them, I wouldn't have gone. So yeah, I think finance is a very big thing we need to look at. But as very well pointed out by Donnie, we can't only rely on government. We must maybe get companies and brands to step on board and support the movement for ladies, for men, for sports in general, for the youth. That's a big thing. And the amount of youth that we took over overseas was incredible. The numbers, the ages, it's incredible. And I think we must also recognize that. The youth is what's going to fuel the teams in the future. Look at the Springboks. If people hadn't put in the time, let's say, for example, with coaching Sasha, look at where he is now. He's a year younger than me. He's now starting for the Springboks this weekend, I think. is what Rossi commented on, or he's not doubting that he will start. So I think investment in the youth in sports, female and male, is very important.
Who's next?
Look,
So
I
we
think our
lost
government.
Elton. Go on, Roxy.
I think our government has tried. You know, you touched on the minister now a bit, Lauren. I think our government has some programs in place, like the provincial academy system that they try to use with DCAS, and it's just not enough money. I think they do try. And my only fear, I shouldn't say it's even a fear. I really hope that our new sport minister succeeds. And I think he has already succeeded in invigorating sport and people's passion in the country, but he's going to come in with a lot of ideas. And what happens when a new minister usually comes in is you have to get rid of the old ideas, because those ideas are in place, and that usually takes time, you know, because it's legislation, it has to be passed, and those kind of the red tape stuff takes time. But I'm pulling for him, and I think just his personality has already made a huge difference. So and as Jade said, though, corporate sponsors have to come on board. But yeah, money is a huge barrier, and most of the people who are so talented in sport, they can't even afford a pair of shoes. So it's wow, we really need funding for these kinds of things.
Uh-oh.
Okay, well, Liz is next.
Liz.
Gosh, yeah, I think so I've got a bit of experience in the education sector. I did a teaching course, and I was involved in 2 very underprivileged schools. So I think the situation is so complex in our country specifically, just around even the basics, like you brought up a pair of shoes, but so many children don't even have food. You know, how can they then be, able to actually participate or play in physical activity if they're not even, getting food on the table? So it's just, the cycle is wild and very deep. And I think it's, such a complex issue that this country is faced with. But I guess, as I said, just the chipping away and the programs, the corporates and the government coming to the party as best they can. And I guess, incredible programs. For me in swimming, it's quite an interesting one, because swimming, is obviously seen as a sport and a life skill. And, we are lucky, especially around Cape Town, that there are so many wonderful pools and facilities. And, there are programs really trying to drive, learn to swim programs and things like that. But you're right, it's such a big issue. It's such a multi-complex, big problem that sometimes it just feels quite overwhelming. How are we actually going to get this all right?
Suppose we got to start somewhere, right?
You do. Baby steps, one bite at a time.
Yeah. Elton also
Thank
has
you.
to start somewhere.
Okay, so Elton just sent a message saying that he can't get in, but he has one
Oh, wow.
final question. And
Okay.
it's, the question is, where do we go from here?
That was just, we literally said we have to start somewhere, but I don't know.
Yeah.
So that is where we're going from here.
Exactly.
We're starting small,
Yes.
right?
Yeah,
Right.
everybody's got to do
Right.
their bit.
Yes. I think any final remarks or messages that you would like to share and leave, and maybe a thought behind with everybody, whoever can start.
Give me 1 second.
Okay.
I've got a quote that sits at my desk that I'd like to share.
Okay.
I knew it, Jared. I knew you would come through.
Come on.
It has been quite awesome, though, having like a very female-driven conversation. I don't know what I was expecting initially, but geez, willpower for persevering and making a plan.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's hear it, Jade.
Go
All
on.
right. So I don't know if you guys are very familiar with a platform called Twitch. It's where people go online and speak and everything. And I follow someone who's neurodivergent like me, ADHD, ADD. And we just have these mental health Mondays and talk about things, quotes that we live by, things that motivate us. And this quote is something I wrote down at the beginning of the year and stuck by me. It's something I look at and I'm like, I'm on a journey. It's not easy. I get emotional sometimes because this quote's quite meaningful to me. It's not easy, but it's the difficult challenges of what makes the journey memorable. Okay. Let me try to pull myself together.
Yeah.
So this quote goes as follows. It's something someone made up. I have tried to see if it comes from somewhere and I haven't found it yet. But it says the journey we take isn't all about the destination, but rather about the memories we make along the way. It's the ups, the downs, the obstacles we face, and the rewards we receive. We smile, we may shed a tear, and we laugh uncontrollably. But as we move forward on our journey, we do not forget the memories that we make upon the journey and the ones we created and been a part of in others.
Beautiful.
So we just got to remember our journeys are all different. Breaking barriers, it's not going to be easy. We're gonna shed those tears. We're gonna smile. We're gonna laugh. We're gonna cry. But remember the memories that we're gonna make, what we're gonna leave behind, the legacies we leave for others to follow, the pathways we are digging for others to follow us on, to take it further. I think that's something very important. And if I actually put this like into an imagery in my head, it's such a beautiful thing that I look at. So that's why it just like sits with me really well. It makes me a bit emotional sometimes because it's like, wow.
It's beautiful.
Thanks for that, Jade. I don't know. I don't think we can. I think we just gotta go with that.
We're just gonna go with that.
Very beautiful.
Yeah.
Very
That was
beautiful.
beautiful. Yeah. I want to say thank you to you ladies for sharing this space and time with Alton and all of us. And I know Shani said thank you for keeping the conversation going. So we did it. So each of you are so amazing. Well, I just want to say thank you to each of you. And so much of what you shared, I just feel like each of you is so incredible. And what I also hear, and also so much from you, Jade, is it's about serving it's about serving the sport. It's about serving others, even from coaching or events. It really is. You do that because you have that passion. Sometimes there's nothing in it for you. You know, you're doing it out of a love. And I think that is what is going to change the present and the future for women in sport and for girls in sport. I see so many women giving of themselves without anything, you know, and I just honor that in all of you. And I wanted to say thank you for sharing this time with me and all of you.
Thank you.
That's me.
Thank you so much, ladies.
Thanks,
Thank you.
ladies.
Thank
Take
you everyone
care.
for tuning in as
Thank you,
well.
Laura.
Thank you for
Yes.
those who watched us.
Yeah. Thank you,
And
everybody.
thank you for Alton for the opportunity.
Yes.
Absolutely. Alton just left us a message there. Thanks, Alton.
Thanks, Alton. Take care, ladies.